Okay, so today is the day where we begin working on these two Mortal Kombat cabinets, converting them to a dedicated Bloodstorm and Time Killers. This is one of the two cabinets here, and the other one is just kind of chilling over here and along the wall here in front of the third car garage area. So, yeah, I think we're going to start with Bloodstorm because the Time Killers, the way the buttons are laid out, there's a little bit of a different layout, so there has to be a custom metal panel made, and it doesn't really need to be a custom piece of wood, but there's no block button in the middle. So Bloodstorm uses the same layout as MK, but Time Killers uses arm buttons and leg buttons and a head button that resembles a layout of an actual person on the kit art, which has been integrated to work on a midway panel here. So because the layout of the buttons is different, I'm still waiting for a new metal panel to be made that matches that layout. So we're going to begin with the Bloodstorm on these two cabinet projects. And it was mentioned in the teaser post I made that one person did not want to see me destroy these cabinets. They wanted me to take the black off and restore the art and all that stuff and make it back into MK. Well, there's no shortage of MK cabinets. There are a dime a dozen. They made thousands and thousands and thousands of Mortal Kombat cabinets. There's no shortage of MK cabinets out there anywhere. So I don't have any qualms or reservations about converting these cabinets to other games because, for instance, I got another one sitting right there. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and convert these to Bloodstorm and Time Killers because I think those will be a little bit more, I don't know, I'm not going to say desirable or sought after, but they're going to be more revered, if you will. I don't know. We'll see how the projects turn out. But anyway, yeah, so this needs to be totally taken apart and gone through, and I'm going to actually remove all of the original side art. I'm not going to take the paint off and then put the new artwork on over the MK art. I'm going to just tear it all off. And you may cringe, you may shout at the sky and say, hey, you're ruining a classic. Well, like I said, there's thousands and thousands of these out there. There's nothing that is going to be, how do I phrase this? It's not going to be the end of the world. I'm not ruining something that's completely rare and you can't find. You can go down to your local hardware store or go on your local marketplace and probably find an MK cabinet that you can restore yourself if you want to or need to. So yeah, it's in really good shape. The control panel needs a lot of work, and there's a bunch of screw holes and stuff that I mentioned before. There's a screw right there, there's a screw right there, there's a bunch of screws right there and holes there. I don't know what's going on with all this stuff. They just decided to screw all this together. It must have been falling apart. I don't know. Kind of the same thing over here. So we're gonna have to fill all those screws in, or all those holes in with some Bondo and sand over that. That's no big deal. That's not gonna be a problem. What we need to do here is, I found out that these two cabinets, this one has a hole here, the other one had a hole on this side, and that's because these games were able to be linked together. These Rushing Heroes games, apparently these games can be linked together, and because of that, when they had these side by side wherever they were, they put a link cable between these and they linked them together. So the plan for this is to go get a hole bit that's the same size as this and drill a hole out of a piece of wood, extricate that piece that we drilled out and stuff it in here and Bondo over that. That's going to be the easiest thing to do there. But the cabinets themselves are really not all torn up and dinged up and gouged up, so we're not going to have to do much Bondo work to it. Once I get this art off of here and sand it down, we probably really aren't going to have to do much Bondo work at all to the cabinet, except maybe along the edge here, right here, and all these holes here. Otherwise, it's not that bad. The back's in good shape. Should be able to get away with just kind of sanding and painting the top and the back. The inside is all original. I believe that's the original power supply from Midway. All of the original harnesses here, everything is here kind of completely unmolested, and it really is amazing. Like someone took this Mortal Kombat in a fully working original state and just converted it to these Rushing Heroes games. But isolation transformer. So the game plan here is to use a K7000. I have two freshly tube swapped brand new K7000s that we're going to put in both these cabinets, and that'll turn out fantastic. As you know, I know my way around a monitor or two, so that's not going to be a problem. But what will be a problem is, well, this even has the original soundboard interconnect cable and everything. Only thing missing is the ribbon cable for the soundboard. But the problem with Bloodstorm and Time Killers is that they are what's known as a JAMA Plus game. JAMA Plus means extra wires in the connector. So if you see here, there's only 3 buttons: push 1, push 2, and push 3. So it's player 1, button 2, and button 3. So for instance, high punch, block, and high kick. You see spare there, and then there's another spare. So there's two wires in there, 2 holes where there should be 2 wires in there. This is an extra ground here, so you should have spare 1 and spare 2. Nothing's in there. Well, Bloodstorm and Time Killers are what's known as JAMA Plus, and there's actually wires in the connector for those boards. So for the low attacks on Time Killers and Bloodstorm, there's wires in these spots. So we're going to have to add wires into these locations or just replace the JAMA harness. Now, there's not going to be any reason to try and replace this JAMA harness because we can just add wires in here with some pins and stuff. So that's not going to be a problem, but I wanted to point that out. There's no kick harness. Like for MK, you have a separate harness for your low attacks. On Time Killers and Bloodstorm, you have the wires are in the harness for the JAMA connector, which is why they call it JAMA Plus. So we'll have to take care of that. But otherwise, inside of the cabinet's in fantastic shape. I mean, it even still has the original volume pot and menu switch, and it's just like, you know, someone just took the PCB out, MK took it out, put their Russian heroes in, and that's all they did. They didn't hack it up, cut the wires up, which is really nice for me. So, I mean, even the original monitor connector, and like, this is everything you'd see from the factory, just minus a PCB. So it's pretty neat, pretty good for me. So, all right, you know, of course, this side is in really good shape as well, except for just these holes here, right there. So, yeah, so let's get the control panel off here. Front also real good shape, just needs a good sanding, and there's artwork we're going to put on the front here, just like, well, you can't see it, but just like that. There's custom artwork that XL Arcade made up for me for the front. And you can see the Dragon logo there in midway, so inside the control panel here, you can see all the original harness and everything is all still here. Like I say, they just took the MK board out, put their Russian heroes in, changed the artwork out. That's about all they did. Original joysticks and everything, so pretty awesome. And you can see the original layout here for MK, and it's not all hacked up, no extra holes. We're going to be able to use this for Bloodstorm just as easily as they used this for Russian Heroes. So it's going to work out very nicely. There's a cleat here that's missing. That's what these things are called, by the way, cleats. There's one missing here, but that's not a problem. It doesn't really need to be there. But you can see how this is kind of all out of whack. So we're probably going to have to unscrew all these screws that they use to put the side panel on, and wood glue it and put it back together the way that it's supposed to be put back together, which I can brad nail it and glue it, and we'll take care of that, no problem. But that's really about it. Oh, the T-molding here is original. This is the original factory Mortal Kombat T-molding from 32 years ago. So I think they replaced this. They might have painted over it. I don't think so. I think that's black, actually. But this is the original T-molding from 32 years ago. It's pretty interesting. Of course, it's going to get yanked off, and we're going to go with something different for Bloodstorm here. And it's not going to be red. It's not going to be black. It's going to be a color you've probably never seen on a machine before. So I think you'll like it. It's going to match artwork. So, well, that being said, I think we'll just set up the camera here and start doing time lapse on disassembly. And I do also want to say that this is a light fixture I've never seen before. It's got this, you know, type of fitting here you see in a house, not an actual commercial arcade cabinet. I'm not familiar with this. If this works, I haven't turned this on. I don't know if it works. It might just replace the bulb, replace the starter, and use this. If not, I'll have to go and get a LED fixture, which isn't a big deal. But what I'm most surprised about is the speaker is in good shape. The edge of the cone, the foam around the cone, is not rotted out, which is unbelievable. So we'll be able to reuse this speaker and not have to get a new one. So this is in really good shape. I mean, it's amazing that the cabinet is in good a shape as it is for being as old as it is and being a conversion. I think it might have got converted and put in an arcade or location and just sat there until it went into storage, and it never got abused, which is good for me, just like the one over there. So speakers are in really good shape. Don't need to replace that. Everything else is in good shape. Nothing's fallen apart or broken. So yeah, I think we'll set up the camera. Set up the camera here, start doing the time lapse, and get all this taken apart and pulled apart and artwork off, because we're a long way from being ready to start filling holes and sanding. So let's get that done and see how this progresses. Well, something catastrophic just happened. I was running out of space on the SD card here on the camera, so I took it out, brought it inside to the computer, hooked it up to download all the files or transfer all the files to the computer, and then come back out and continue on with the cabinet work. In the middle of transferring the files, the SD card failed. It was transferring about 36% of the files. I got to 36%, I should say, and then I got a card reader error. So I took the card out, put it back in, and it said this card must be formatted to be able to be used. So the card crapped itself out. So I don't have any footage of all of the cabinet work, all of the sanding, all of the primer, all of the resanding. All that stuff is gone. So I actually ended up filming the artwork installation on the other side of the cabinet that's down on the ground right now. I got everything with this, I got the entire cabinet work completed, with the exception of adding artwork to the front and adding artwork to this side. The back is painted, both sides are sanded, both sides are primered, both sides are sanded after primering. Everything on this is now done, and I lost pretty much all of that footage. I think the last thing you saw was me peeling off the original side art. So all of the footage of me sanding it, priming it, resanding it, getting the artwork on the opposite side that's face down, painting the back, painting the top, painting the front, speaker grill, all that stuff that I filmed is all gone. So it's not going to be a total loss. At least you'll be able to see me adding the side art to this side so you can see what it looks like before the reveal. I'm also going to show the installation of the artwork on the front and get this thing to a point to where all that's left is the control panel and the insides. But unfortunately, a majority of the work is, the footage of that work is lost. However, I still have another cabinet right there. So everything that you missed on this, I'm gonna have to show again on the Time Killers project. So you'll end up seeing everything that I did to this all over again on the Time Killers when I do the other cabinet over there. So you're gonna miss all that on this job, on this project, but on the Time Killers project, I promise everything will be shown, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing to that cabinet that I did to this one. So stay tuned for that. Once this project is done, we'll start the Time Killers, and everything I did to this that you missed, you'll see on that one. So it sucks, and I apologize, but that's how things go sometimes. So I had to go up to Best Buy and buy another SD card, and now here we are again. So at least it's not going to be a total loss. So I'll get the side art installed on this side. You can see my process, and then we'll get the art on the front. And I think that'll pretty much, and I'll show off everything else I did that the footage was lost of. So, you know, it's like the back and the top and the front and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and get working on this and get this side art on and proceed on from there. Okay, the last thing on the agenda for this part of the video, of course, part 2 will be all the insides and rebuilding the power supply and getting the board installed on the monitor and doing all the finishing touches on it. But I wanted to go ahead and test this marquee, and the light bulb did not light up. So I put this LED in here, and just like I suspected, lights up and looks great. So actually, it's in there backwards. Now that I think about it, because you're supposed to be able to see the adjustments when you have it installed. What in the world is going on here? Man, I've never had anything be so difficult. There we go. Now you can see the adjustment there. So if we turn it back on, this is the daylight, sunshine, and cool white. So I think we'll leave it on sunshine. So that's good. And yeah, I think I had a little trouble with that. It's never easy when you have that giant open gap in the middle, but turned out good enough. So let's get a marquee installed here and see how that looks. Okay, marquee is installed. Let's fire it up, see how it looks. Nice. I think that's going to look good. Okay, well, that's about it for this first part here. Like I say, the next part will be all the internals and guts and control panel, and we'll finish it up and call it done. So it should be a two-parter here. Now, I did some of the missing footage, I think, was me fixing this. So this is Brad nailed back in and touched up and fixed. And I think I mentioned after pulling the screws out that this is secure. I'm not sure if that footage was gone or not, but yeah, I'll need to get. Oh, and I did fix that. Well, you'll see in the next video how I did this. I got a plug put in there on the side, so you'll see in the next video, because I have to do the same thing. The same thing needs to be done for the time killers. So, like I say, all the lost footage from this for the Bloodstorm here, you'll see how to do all this and what I did and what's involved with doing this when I do a time killer. So stay tuned for that. So sorry about all the missing footage, but you know, that's just how it goes sometimes. So let's get this turned around against the garage, and we'll do a good walk around and take a look at how this turned out so far. Alright, so I completely forgot to mention, because it was part of the footage that was gone, that LED that I installed there is a replacement LED bulb for a standard 18-inch fluorescent fixture. And the information on this is right here. What is that? PK-00106499-1, something like that, or LED 11ET8G, whatever, blah blah blah. I got this at Lowe's, and they're just a direct replacement right into the fixture for the 18-inch incandescent. Not incandescent. I'm sorry. I just said it. I just said the word. Fluorescent. Good Lord. So I forgot to mention that because it was part of the deleted footage or missing footage, and I don't think I don't think I mentioned it. So yeah, that's what that is on the details of that, and that's what that was. So it's a direct replacement. So get some of those if you have to. It's much lower wattage and it runs better and lasts longer and all that jazz. So marquee's installed, looks great. And of course I did create a custom move bezel like I do for all these games, and this was actually, I had a Bloodstorm in a dynamo cabinet many years ago, like 12 years ago or 10 years ago something, and I made a custom moveless bezel for the 19-inch dynamo cabinet, and I just took that image and kind of modified it to work for a 25-inch bezel, and this light overhead's going to go out here and you'll be able to see better, but yeah, sorry about the glare, but you'll get a better idea of what this looks like when we have it out in the sunlight and when it's daytime again, because it's actually night now. I've spent all day on this trying to get this, at least this far, done. So we still have the control panel to go. and all the all the inside guts, rebuilding the power supply, getting the extra wires added, getting the control panel done, all that internal work. But the external work is 100% complete. Easy for me to say. So I can't recall which side it was that was part of the missing footage. And you see here I did use gray T-molding. Something you don't really see on any arcade cabinet, but I wanted to match the color of the buzzsaw here. So something to offset the blue and the red to match sort of the buzzsaw that we had designed to go on this side art. So it's got the gray T-molding, as you can see. And even with all the issues we were having trying to get this front decal installed, it turned out quite nicely as well. And then we have this side. So like I say, this is just a preliminary showcase here, because once we get everything done, there'll be a proper showcase of how this entire project turned out once it's done. But I gotta say, so far we are on track for a phenomenal result. And if you look here, I even was able to line up fairly, the very tip of that points right to the carriage bolt, and the very tip of that points right to the carriage bolt. So I was able to line these up almost identical on both sides. Good to go on that. So yeah, that's about it for this first part. Stay tuned for the second part, where we get the monitor in, all the guts done, the wiring and the control panel, all that stuff. It's all still sitting right there. So stay tuned for part 2. Sorry about the missing footage, but like I say, everything, including that plug that which side's it on? Right there, that plug, including that hole we have to fill. I will show how I did that, and everything on the other machine over here, which will turn into time killers. So everything that you missed on this, you will not miss on the second cabinet. So stay tuned for that. Otherwise, yeah, part 2 will be here soon, probably next weekend. And hopefully, if everything goes well with that, we will have a dedicated Bloodstorm in, well, I guess probably, one of one. I've never seen anybody else do this. There is other time killers out there in the MK cabinet. There went the light. I just closed the garage door, and that was the overhead garage door light. So there are other time killers in MK cabinets, but I think I might be the only one with the Midway Bloodstorm cabinet. So, all right. That's it. So thanks again, and we'll see you on part 2.